No one guessed that June 22 would become a very symbolic day for the Soviet Union. Perhaps this date foreshadowed the fate of a little boy who was born on June 22, 1922 in the village of Dmitrievka in the Zaporozhye region. Now it is the territory of Ukraine, and before the Azov region was part of the great country of the USSR, although according to some data he was born on March 5. But he himself considered his birthday to be the 22nd day. The baby was named Vazhya and his childhood was quite joyless and sad. At the age of 3 he lost his mother. His father realized that one could not take care of the children and soon married for the second time. They lived very poorly. Sometimes there was nothing to eat. When Vasily was 10 years old, his father was repressed for supporting the White Guard movement. The stepmother was afraid that she would not be able to feed the two boys, left them in their father's house and went to a neighboring village. But Vazhya and her brother decided to find her and ask her to take her to their house. They did not know the road well, so very soon they got lost in the forest and wandered there for several days without food and water. By some miracle Vasily managed to survive, but his brother died. After being sent to an orphanage, the boy ran away again to his stepmother, with whom he stayed to live. He studied at an incomplete secondary school in his village, then finished his studies at a secondary school in Novovasilievka. In 1939 he was called up for compulsory service. In the army he was trained as an artilleryman, and received the rank of lieutenant. From the first days of the war Vasily Stepanovich was on the front line, commanded a platoon of the artillery regiment. This brave man took part in many significant military operations, the heaviest wounding. The crossing of the Sula River was a turning point in the life of Vasily Stepanovich. The unit, under the command of Petrov, moved under bombing and artillery fire on a half-destroyed burning bridge. Almost all the personnel was put out of action. Then the captain himself stood up to arms and shot back from the enemy, even having received heavy wounds of both hands. After the battle, fellow soldiers took the seriously wounded commander to the nearest hospital in the town of Kovalin. At that time Vasily was already unconscious. In the infirmary they didn't bother to understand much. Having seen the almost breathless body in heavy wounds, they recognized him dead and took him to the other corpses. When the brigade commander was informed of Petrov's death, he ordered his subordinates to bring the body to the unit for a decent burial. Captain Zapolsky and Major Galushko went to the hospital, but the body was not found there. Doctors said that it had already been buried, but the comrades in arms did not believe it and continued their search. Among the dead bodies they managed to find a slightly alive Vasily. They brought him to the operating table and, at gunpoint, forced the surgeon to save the captain's life. The operation was successful, but the time was catastrophically lost. Both hands became infected and had to be amputated. During the period of recovery he was in severe pain. He smoked 100 cigarettes a day to somehow forget. Imagine his psychological state at that moment. After some time Petrov was transferred to Moscow to the Institute of Prosthetics, and in December he was awarded the highest award, Hero of the Soviet Union. Then he would come to these thoughts: yes, my hands are gone, but my honor, dignity, and intelligence cannot be taken away from me, and the artillery specificity of the battle will forever remain in my blood. Strength of spirit. After a long and hard rehabilitation, Vasily Ivanovich wanted to leave in the rear, but a year later he returned to the ranks and fought until the victory. In 1945 Stalin issued a decree to leave the hero in the ranks of the Soviet army for life. All his life this heroic man devoted to service in the army. In the post-war period he reached the rank of lieutenant general. In 1999 he was promoted to the rank of colonel general, but not of the Soviet Union, but of Ukraine. On the 82nd year, on April 15, 2003, the hero Vasily Petrov passed away, but his feat is not forgotten. Two sons followed in their father's footsteps and chose a military career.